They laughed. Not out of joy or surprise. They laughed like I was a walking punchline, like my dreams were some kind of entertainment they could ridicule over dinner. That day still replays in my head sometimes. The way my dad leaned back in his chair, wiping imaginary tears of laughter, and my mom shaking her head like I was some silly child asking to be a superhero. But I wasn't a child. I was 27 and I had a plan. I'm Olivia. I live in a small town outside Columbus, Ohio. Nothing glamorous. I worked part-time at a bookstore, paid rent on a small one-bedroom, and spent most nights dreaming up ways to turn my passion into a business. I'm not loud or flashy. I was always the quiet one, always writing things down, thinking too long before speaking. In a family of loud, big personalities, I was the soft echo in the corner. My family is complicated. I'm the middle child. My older sister married rich and practically lives in her Instagram stories. My younger brother's the Golden Boy scholarships, law school, the works. Me? I was the one with cute hobbies and weird interests. I make things, natural skincare, handmade oils, lip balms from scratch. What started as a stress reliever during college became something I really loved. I gave samples to friends. They raved about them. Some asked to buy more. And that's when the idea came. I wanted to start a small brand. Just online at first. A name, some packaging, maybe a booth at the farmer's market. I wasn't asking for millions. I just needed a small loan, $4,000 to be exact. Just enough to get bulk materials, build a website, register the brand. So I came to my parents with a full proposal, spreadsheets, sample products, everything. I even brought a small mock-up of the logo I designed. My hands were shaking, but I was proud. I believed in it. They didn't. It wasn't the rejection that stung the most. It was the way they rejected me. My dad said, "Skincare? You mean like creams and lotions? Liv, come on, that's not a business. That's something bored women do on TikTok." My mom followed with, "I just don't see how this is different from anything at Walgreens." No questions. No curiosity. No interest. Just judgment. And then they called my cousin Liam in. Liam is, well, let's just say he's failed upward his whole life. He's charming, a smooth talker, and had 3 businesses flop by age 30. But my parents adore him. Especially since he's Uncle Ray's son, my mom's favorite brother. They always said he had entrepreneurial spirit, even if all he really had was a trust fund and bad ideas. That night, I overheard them talking to him in the kitchen after dinner. I wasn't meant to hear it, but I did. Liv had this idea. Handmade skincare or something. Honestly, it's not for her. But maybe you could do something with it? You'd make it look professional. Marketable. I didn't say anything. I just sat in my car for a long time afterward, staring at the empty street. I'd pitched a dream, and they'd passed it along like it was a leftover casserole. And the next week, he launched his version of it. Same concept. Same target audience. Slightly flashier name. Even used a few phrases from my pitch deck. I watched him announce it on Facebook with a professional video and a family-backed photo shoot. My parents liked and shared it, calling it brilliant. That was the moment. Not when they laughed. Not even when they gave him my idea. But when I realized I was never meant to be taken seriously in their eyes. And if I wanted respect, I'd have to earn it somewhere else. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't confront them. I got quiet. And I got focused. Because if they thought I was just going to roll over and let Liam become the face of my dream, they really didn't know me at all. It didn't happen all at once. That's the thing about heartbreak. It's not always a sharp pain. Sometimes it's dull, lingering. Like a bruise you keep pressing just to remind yourself it's real. That week after Liam launched his brand, I felt it all. The disbelief. The betrayal. The silence. I didn't go to the family dinner the following Sunday. My mom texted me, "Don't be dramatic, Olivia." As if I was throwing a tantrum. As if having my entire dream hijacked by someone else was just something I should get over. The worst part? Watching people believe it was his idea. Friends from high school, neighbors, even my aunt messaged me saying, "Did you see what Liam's doing? He's really turning his life around." I forced myself to smile when I bumped into people in town. I nodded. I said, "Yeah, he's doing well." But inside, I was screaming. I started avoiding social media altogether. Every scroll reminded me of what I had lost. He even used one of the product names I coined, Midnight Honey. That one hit deep. I came up with that while lying awake at 2 a.m., stirring beeswax and lavender in my tiny apartment kitchen. He turned it into a hashtag. I felt like I was unraveling. I didn't sleep. I barely ate. I started questioning everything about myself. Was I foolish for thinking I had something worth building? Was I too soft, too naive? Maybe my parents were right. Maybe I wasn't cut out for this. One afternoon, I visited my parents' house, thinking maybe they had some kind of explanation, closure, or even guilt. But when I walked in, I saw Liam sitting at the kitchen island, talking with my dad about suppliers, laughing, eating the cookies I baked. My mom looked up and smiled. There she is. You should be proud. Your idea is turning into something real. That was the moment I snapped. I wasn't proud. I was gutted. I didn't give him my idea, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You gave it to him. They exchanged glances like I was being ungrateful. My dad said, Liv, don't be bitter. Liam's just better at execution. It's nothing personal. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. That phrase sat in my chest like a rock. I walked out. Quietly. Calmly. But every step felt like I was walking away from a family I no longer recognized. That night, I cried harder than I'd cried in years. Not just because I lost the idea, but because I finally accepted a truth I'd been denying my whole life. They didn't believe in me. Not really. Not ever. It was like a funeral for the daughter I kept trying to be. The one they'd finally be proud of. If she just worked a little harder, smiled a little more, stopped being so sensitive. I didn't leave my apartment for 3 days after that. The silence was loud. I didn't even turn the lights on. I just sat with the grief. Not just of losing a business, but of losing trust. Losing home. And then something small happened. I was cleaning out a drawer, trying to throw away old papers and start fresh, when I found a folded napkin. On it, in smudged pen, was a recipe I'd written down at a cafe months ago. A new balm formula. One I'd never shared with anyone. I held it in my hands like a lifeline. And just like that, the fog started to lift. Because they took the first idea. They gave away the surface of my dream. But the truth? They could never take what made it real, me. My hands. My mind. My process. My quiet obsession with getting things just right. That fire inside me? Still there. Flickering beneath all the hurt. Waiting. I wasn't ready to fight back. Not yet. But something shifted that night. I lit a candle. I opened my laptop. And I started sketching again. Not for them. Not for applause. Just for me. The first thing I did was delete the old logo files. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. That version of the dream belonged to a girl who was still seeking approval. This new version? It was just mine. I didn't make any announcements. I didn't post some dramatic watch me rise statement. I didn't need the noise. All I needed was time and silence. I spent evenings and weekends in my little apartment, mixing oils, testing new ingredients, taking notes by hand. I ordered small batch supplies with what little savings I had left. It wasn't much, but it was enough to start over. At night, I worked on branding, simple, stripped down, real. No flashy marketing. Just me, my formulas, and a quiet determination that burned like a slow flame. I named it Field and Root, the opposite of Liam's sleek, sterile brand. Mine was earthy, honest, grounded in something real, like I wanted to be. By day, I still worked my bookstore shift, but by night, I built. The first sale came from a girl I hadn't spoken to since high school. She DM'd me on Instagram after I posted a photo of a tiny tin of balm with no caption. "Do you sell this?" she asked. I replied, "Yes." That was all it took. Word spread slowly. No ads. No influencer pushes. Just people talking. One customer turned into 3. Then 10. Then one morning, I woke up to 20 notifications from Shopify. Somehow, people were finding me. Meanwhile, Liam's brand was making noise on the surface, but cracks were already showing. His ingredients were cheap, and reviews started reflecting that. His packaging was pretty but impractical. Customers complained about skin reactions. But I stayed quiet. Let him have the stage. I wasn't chasing attention. I was building something that could stand. I reinvested every dollar I made. I didn't go out. I didn't upgrade anything. I bought better containers, better oils, a basic label printer. After 6 months, I had enough to buy a booth at the farmer's market. My hands were shaking the first morning I set up. My table was modest, handwritten signs, craft paper bags, but people stopped. They touched. They smelled. They bought. And slowly, I started to breathe again. My confidence came back in pieces. One kind review. One repeat customer. One little girl who tried a lavender stick I made and said, "It smells like my grandma's garden." That was the first time in a long while I felt warmth that didn't hurt. Then something strange happened. My mom called. She left a message saying, "I heard you've been doing something with your skincare stuff again. Liam mentioned it. He said some of his customers found you somehow. Can we talk?" I didn't call back. A week later she sent a text. "Your cousin is having a little trouble with fulfillment. Do you have any advice?" Advice? They gave him everything. They dismissed me. And now they wanted help? Still, I didn't react. I was learning that silence is its own kind of power. Instead, I poured myself into the work. I launched 3 new products, started a simple email newsletter, and was invited to be part of a local artisan gift box that sold out within 2 days. People started reaching out to me for advice. Boutique stores wanted to carry my products. I was approached by a local skin specialist asking if I could customize formulas for sensitive clients. And all the while, I said nothing to my family. I didn't need to, because power I was learning doesn't always look like shouting. Sometimes it looks like holding your ground, while the ones who once dismissed you start to notice your silence. And I could feel it, the balance shifting. Liam's brand was slipping. My name was rising. But I wasn't out for revenge. I was building something sacred, something they couldn't steal. And soon the tables would turn in a way no one expected. It happened at my cousin's launch party. Or rather, what was supposed to be his relaunch party. I wasn't invited. Of course I wasn't. But word gets around fast in a small town. Especially when someone tries to rebrand after a not-so-subtle wave of bad reviews and refund requests. Liam's company had quietly restructured. New logo. New marketing team. He even started claiming he was formulating products himself now. With help from local herbalists. The irony was unbearable. A mutual friend, someone who used to be neutral, called and asked, "Are you going to the event this weekend?" I told her no. She paused, then said, "You might want to." I didn't dress up. Just a black jumpsuit, clean sneakers, hair tied back. I didn't need to impress anyone. I just needed to be present. Not for them. For me. The event was held in this polished co-working space downtown. Industrial lights. Concrete floors. White linen tables covered with Liam's newly designed products. I recognized some of the scents. Some of the names. Slightly tweaked. But they were mine. I stood near the back. Unnoticed. Like always. Until I wasn't. One of the local reporters from the small town paper came up to me. "Olivia, right?" she asked. "Field and Root? I've been meaning to contact you. Are you affiliated with this brand?" "No," I said simply. "This is not me." She furrowed her brow, then whispered, "That's what I thought." A few minutes later, Liam took the stage. Flashy as ever. Hair perfectly messy, shirt too tight. Voice just loud enough to sound rehearsed but relaxed. He started thanking everyone, talking about starting from scratch, about how he believed in natural wellness from day one. My parents stood near the front, beaming like he was some prodigy. Then came the Q&A. One woman raised her hand and asked a question about product sourcing. Another asked about safety testing. But the third question came from the reporter who spoke to me. She asked, "What inspired your formulas?" He started answering with buzzwords. Nature. Clean beauty. Intuition. But she pushed again. I ask because some of your early product names and scent combinations are nearly identical to Field and Root. That's a local brand, right? You could feel the air tighten. Liam chuckled nervously. Well, we're all inspired by each other in small markets. That was when the reporter turned slightly and gestured toward the back. Because she's here tonight. Every head turned. I felt the weight of a dozen eyes land on me, including my parents. For a moment, no one said a word. Then I walked forward, slow, calm, and stood next to one of the tables. I picked up a jar labeled Golden Calm. My original formula. My original name. Funny, I said, not to the crowd, just to myself. I remember mixing this in my kitchen 2 years ago. Before you ever picked up a drop of oil, Liam. He tried to laugh. Look, Liv. But I raised a hand. I'm not here to argue. I'm here because I built something from nothing. And I didn't need to take it from anyone to do it. My voice didn't shake. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just stood there and told the truth. Someone clapped. Just one person. Then another. And another. Liam didn't say a word. My parents? Frozen. For the first time, they saw me not as the quiet, naive girl with weird little dreams. They saw me as a woman who didn't just survive being dismissed. I thrived in spite of it. I turned. I didn't stay to bask in it. I didn't need to. As I walked out, someone called after me. Hey, do you have a card? I want to order from your line. I handed it to her without a word. And when I stepped outside into the cool night air, I breathed in something I hadn't tasted in years. Freedom. Life didn't suddenly become a movie after that night. There was no dramatic apology, no tearful reunion. But something did shift. People saw me differently. Not because I demanded it, but because I had shown them who I really was. And more importantly, I had finally seen myself clearly. The weeks that followed were quiet but full. Orders kept coming in. A local podcast reached out. Then a subscription box company. Then a regional magazine featured Field and Root as one of the 10 women-owned brands to watch. I printed that article and pinned it above my desk. Not out of pride, but out of gratitude to the woman I had become. I moved into a small studio space. Hired a part-time assistant. Registered my brand officially. All the things I once asked my parents to help me do, I now did on my own. And it felt right. I didn't speak to Liam again. I didn't need to. His brand slowly faded. Not because I took him down, but because you can't build longevity on borrowed dreams. His followers dropped. His relaunch fizzled. His website quietly shut down 3 months later. I found out through a friend that he had started applying for tech jobs in the city. I didn't feel satisfaction. Just peace. He wasn't my problem anymore. My parents, though? That was harder. They called a few times. Left messages. My mom even wrote an email saying, "We didn't mean to hurt you. We just thought Liam had a better chance of making something real. You were always so quiet." It was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever received from her. Still, I didn't write back. Not out of spite, but because I'd stopped looking to them for validation. The truth is, sometimes the people closest to us are the last ones to see who we really are. And that's not always something you can fix. Instead, I healed in my own way. I started taking weekends off. I traveled. I taught a free workshop at the library where I used to work. One afternoon, a teenage girl came up to me afterward and said, "I want to start something too, but my parents think I'm just wasting time." I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Let them think that. What matters is what you know." She smiled. And for a second I saw myself before the heartbreak, before the silence, before the fire. Now, I wake up every day and work for me. I run a business I love. I've built a team that respects my vision. I make products with care. I connect with customers who tell me my work makes them feel seen, beautiful, and enough. That's success. Not just the money, not just the recognition, but the quiet, steady certainty that I no longer need to ask for a seat at anyone's table, because I built my own. And if you're watching this, maybe you've been laughed at too. Maybe someone dismissed your dream, handed it to someone more polished, someone easier to believe in. Maybe you've been quietly working, doubting yourself, wondering if it's all for nothing. Let me tell you, it's not. The ones who doubt you don't define you. You do. Keep going. Build in silence if you have to. Let your work speak when the time is right. Because when it does, it won't just be heard. It'll echo. And the people who once laughed, they'll sit in the quiet you leave behind, trying to remember when exactly they stopped seeing your worth. By then you'll be long gone. Too busy living the life they said you couldn't.